Hello, and thank you for joining me today. Well, this is the Friday, January 13th edition of our video devotionals. We appreciate you being with us today and hope your Friday's going well. It is the end of another work week and school week, and I know we're not superstitious around here, are we? Friday the 13th, really, are we really going to say because there's a date with the 13th on a Friday that really is significant? We're not going to go there, right? So I didn't think so. All right, so it's Friday the 13th, January 13th. And hopefully everything's going well for you. Well, there was no devotion yesterday. No need to go into a long conversation. I thought I was getting better than I was, and sometimes you go a little bit backwards, or you're not as well as you think you are. And so for you out there that's experienced or is experiencing some things, this stuff going around, then do the best you can to get better. Do what you need to do. And don't feel like, well, man, why is it taking so long? I know. I want to say the same thing, but otherwise, we'll get through it, okay? All right, so we're reading through the Bible in 1 year's time. You know that. We're going to be in Genesis 37 today. We're going to look at the first 4 verses there and let you find that. Otherwise, we're also reading from this little book called Today. Now, it's an older book, and it basically lists historical events for each day of the year. So today, obviously, being the 13th of January, we're going to read from this selection, give you a few things, and then we'll get right to the Bible there. All right, so on this date in 1735, Georgia was settled. It certainly wasn't a state yet, but it was a colony. It was being settled, so 1735. George Fox died in 1691. He's credited with founding the Quakers. We have a lot of Quakers in our area here. This area was settled by Quakers. 1777, the Virginia Statute for Religious Liberty was drawn. 1846, the Mexican War started. 1864, Stephen Foster died in the Bellevue Hospital in New York City. And then here's the last one. In 1887, wealthy C.T. Studd disposed of all his world's goods. C.T. Studd's worldly goods totaled $150,000. Now, you can imagine in that day, that's at least 10 times that, maybe 20 times that today. He gave $25,000 to Moody, who used it to begin the Moody Bible Institute. Studd later became a missionary to China, India, and Africa, and one of the great Christians of all history. And C.T. Studd, many of you have heard of him. All right, so that's reading from the Today book. Now we're going to go to the Bible here, and we're going to kind of begin where we begin the story of Joseph. And a lot of time, a lot of print, as you would say, a lot of details are devoted to the life of Joseph, sometimes in some cases much more than most people in the Bible. We're going to look at the beginning of the life of Joseph here, give you some things. Otherwise, thank you for all who watch our videos. Thank you for all the interactions we have. And, of course, appreciate all the prayers for me being sick. And many of you've got other things going on. In fact, I know of a dear family, we mentioned this, their son passed away. And they've got the last of what's called the memorial services they're going to do, where they live down on the coast. And they know this family. I know this family. I'm not going to mention the names. They probably wouldn't mind, but I just try to make it a point of making this, to not do that. So be in prayer for them as they have a memorial service for their son, and down where they actually live. And of course, they're from this area this way. And we met them down on the coast. My wife was a waitress in a restaurant down there, and she met them and met their son, and we kind of formed a great relationship with them. And they're wonderful, wonderful people. They watch these videos. I use the term religiously, and always make a comment. And I do appreciate you. You know who I'm talking about. Appreciate you very much. And we're in prayer for you for this weekend. Not going to be easy, never easy, but God's grace is sufficient, and we want you to know that. And we want all of us who kind of listen to this together just pray for this family as they have a final memorial service for their son, 34 years of age that passed, and just be in prayer for them, okay? All right, so Genesis 37 here, verse 1 says this, "And Jacob dwelt in the land wherein his father was a stranger, in the land of Canaan. These are the generations of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding the flock with his brethren, and the lad was with the sons of Bilhah and with the sons of Zilpah, his father's wives. And Joseph brought unto his father their evil report. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, They hated him and could not speak peaceably unto him. It's kind of a lot of details here, and I could spend a lot of time. In fact, I did two or three takes on this, and it got very lengthy. So let me try to abbreviate this from what I initially was given in a previous video. Jacob, when he got married, he loved Rachel, a very beautiful, strikingly beautiful woman. He thought he was marrying Rachel. He ended up, he married Leah, who was the older sister. He had worked for her, so to speak, without giving all the details, 7 years. Well, he was tricked, and it ended up being Leah. To be honest with you, he didn't have a love for Leah, and he was tricked to start with. And then he worked an additional 7 years for Rachel. So there's 14 total years in which between Leah and Rachel. Truth is, he loved Rachel. She was beautiful. That was the love of his life. Leah was not, but she was his wife. And we ends up having these 12 children, and Rachel could not have children. Leah, I believe, has 6 of the 12. These 2 handmaids, they produce 4 between the 2, so there's the 10. Rachel eventually has a child. The first child that she has is Joseph. This is the Joseph we're talking about. He's 17 at this time, and then she also has Benjamin, and she will actually die in childbirth with Benjamin. So Benjamin is the youngest. Joseph is the second to the youngest. So of the list of the 12 boys, Joseph is 11. Now, I believe because Joseph was favored, because he was young, and because he was also the son of Rachel, who he loved, then that brought contention between the brothers and Joseph there, because they saw the love that Joseph no doubt had for Rachel. I'm sure they all saw that between Rachel and Leah. And then, of course, we know that Joseph is born. He's thinking, wow, finally a son with Rachel. And he made him a coat of many colors. He really stood out. But the brothers, they hated him. Those older brothers hated him. Even to the point, as we know the story going forward, they wanted to kill him. Reuben steps in and said, let's not kill him. Let's sell him. We'll make some money. We'll pretend that he died. An animal killed him, and we'll tell Dad he'll be out of our life, and that'll be that. So here's what I really want to get to. I don't have a lot of time to say this, but, sometimes don't we blame other people for how we feel and how we do? And I know other people affect us. Don't get me wrong. I think people ought to be kind and nice, and people shouldn't try to push your buttons. But you know what? These boys, the fact that Dad showed that kind of love to Joseph was nowhere near an excuse to hate their brother like they did, especially to the point of taking his life and even coming up with a scheme that they did to sell their brother into Egypt to be a slave and to think we'll never see him and we don't care. Let me tell you something. We need to all be very careful about how others affect us. We need to be better Christians than to think, well, they said this, they make me feel this way. Well, you know what? A lot of people can make me feel a certain way. I tell you, I'll be honest, I'll be transparent here. I can go down the highway. Since we've moved here from our house to the church here, there's like a bypass. It's the expressway. And if you're out on the roads a lot, if you travel for a job, or you have to travel a lot back from work to home, there's people out there that just drive very recklessly, very rudely, and we're all familiar with the term road rage. Well, sometimes my wife was with me, and I keep myself in check pretty much, but I certainly will say things, and I'll say, look at that idiot. You say, preacher, you shouldn't use the word idiot. I agree, shouldn't use the word idiot, but I'll say, look at that idiot over there. And it makes me mad, and I'll look at the way they do things and how they almost create accidents, and, it bothers me. But you know what? I shouldn't let that cause me to drive a certain way. I shouldn't let that cause me to suddenly turn and become somebody that usually I'm not, just because somebody made me mad. And you say, well, they did wrong. Okay, that's fine. They did wrong. But still, here's a man who loved his son. Joseph didn't do anything wrong. You say, well, he had those dreams. Yeah, but those dreams were of God. Are there some people out there that are hated because they're loved of God and God uses them? The answer is, yeah. It's called envy. It's called jealousy. And whatever the reasons are for us feeling certain ways, you need to go to God and say, God, number one, forgive me for allowing me to feel that way because somebody, for any reason, causes me to do something that makes me think the wrong way and even feel the wrong way. You can say, well, I can't help it. I believe we can help a lot of it. When I was a kid, they used to say the devil made me do it. The devil's never made me do anything. The devil's never done that. Has the devil ever pushed my buttons? Perhaps. Has people pushed my buttons? Yeah. Have I pushed other people's buttons? Yeah. But you know what? The truth is, here's how you can see things and how almost excuses can come into the picture where they say, well, here's how this is done, and therefore it justifies my wrong feelings or wrong actions. Well, that's just not true. So we went a little bit late today, but I guess you can just chalk it up to, I didn't have one yesterday, divide the time up between, 10.5 minutes, and that wouldn't be too bad between two devotions. We'll just call it that, all right? Otherwise, I do hope you have a great weekend and Sunday. I do hope you stay as healthy as you can. I do hope you stay as safe as you can. Otherwise, Lord willing, we'll all be back here on Monday. We'll continue through the Bible, and we'll be right there at the end of Genesis. So otherwise, we'll see you on Monday, and have a great day.